Hi, welcome to this video, and in this video I just want to introduce the idea of independent printing companies or independent developers of biosensors being able to use our SenseItAll platform. So this is our SenseItAll platform, and you'll see a lot of illustrations and pictures and how it works in a short while. But when I say independent, let's say developers or even manufacturers of screen printed electrodes, this is obviously an example of a screen printed electrode. It's an example of a ZP screen printed electrode. And what we're saying in this video is that if you follow a few simple, let's say, design manufacturing rules, then you can actually design sensors or screen printed electrodes that actually click into this technology stack. And then at that point, then that sensor can be used with a technology stack. So the whole idea then is that you can actually go from essentially a screen printed electrode, maybe a screen printed electrode that's actually functionalized, to a product extremely quickly. Now I will lay out what the SenseItAll technology platform is, but if I was to say you design something, you manufacture something, and then actually it clicks into this SenseItAll platform, and it's much closer to a product than otherwise would be, because you'd otherwise then have to develop the hardware or the software, even the sort of, how to run the electrochemical assay, be it amperometry, be it voltammetry, be it impedance spectroscopy, maybe be it potentiometry. So let me go forward a little bit with that then. So we've got this SenseItAll platform. As I say, it can take electrodes. It didn't have to be screen printed electrodes. It could be printed circuit board. It could be sputtered materials that are then ablated. But you have some sort of electrode configuration with electrical connection pads on the back, and I'll sort of zoom into that a little bit. So this is the kind of ZP example. This is a screen printed electrode from ZP. And as long as you follow those same design rules, then you can make an equivalent with the design that the customer actually requires, or if it's an internal effort, the design that you require. And at which point then you can actually click it into the instrument. Now, when I say design rules, this is obviously an engineering drawing of one of our screen printed electrodes. The design rules are really fairly simple. I mean, we have a length of 26.3 millimeters. It would be good if you followed that length. Obviously, it's just about an inch long. Our width is 7.2 millimeters, about a third of an inch approximately. The thickness of the material that we're printing on is 0.3 millimeters. So if you grossly follow those, if you follow those dimensions, then at least you're in the right, let's say, footprint. I think the thing to get right, let's say, is these electrical connections on the back. I think the video that I'm using at the moment will be a little bit small, but the SenseItAll platform, if I just click it apart here, we have under here some gold pins, and those gold pins come down and make electrical contact. So it's probably important that you sort of follow the design rules, because it's actually there's some connectors here. I'll put my mouse here. Treat this one as your reference electrode, treat this one as your working electrode, and treat this one as your counter electrode. So have the length, have the width, and have the thickness, 26.3 millimeters, 7.2 and 0.3 millimeters respectively. And then lay it out so that the reference electrode is essentially here, the working electrode is in the middle, and the counter electrode is here. I will say it in a minute, but that's when you can then use creativity to do, to be honest, with what you would like at the other end. So if I call this the sort of distal end, then at this proximal end, you can get creative, let's say. So what does it mean? It means just follow our design rules to a certain degree. They're not draconian. You have a lot of creative space to play up here to do what you want to do or what the client wants to do. For example, we've got a circular kind of electrode here. It's probably just more important that you look at that drawing on the previous slide and just get those electrical connection points consistent, so that then you can actually be clicked into the SenseItAll platform. Now, I haven't talked too much about the SenseItAll platform, but if I could just say that the whole idea of the SenseItAll platform is to take clients really quickly from an idea and maybe a custom screen printed electrode through to actually on a product platform really, really quickly. So we expect you to sort of be able to connect into there. Now you can play with this a little bit, because the first thing I want to say now is, what is SenseItAll? So SenseItAll, I will lay that out a little bit, but it's already a piece of hardware that can be driven by an app that you can download off the Google Play Store. So this will make Bluetooth connection with a smart device, which you can scan this QR code if you've got an Android phone, and that will take you to the Google Play Store, and you can put the app on your phone. If you've got an iOS Apple type phone there, then you can scan this QR code, and that will do the same thing. That will take you to the Apple App Store, and you can install the code there. Because then what I'm saying after that then is when you have installed that app on your phone, you can use this whole series of QR codes. And I will say in a minute that if you're designing an electrode for yourself, you're designing an electrode for a client, you can then have a custom QR code. But you know, we have a QR code for chili and ginger and pH and nitrate and something called total antioxidative capacity and glucose and potassium. And then your client, you may have designed a specific screen printed electrode for your client, and they may have functionalized it to make it into an electrochemical sensor. When I say functionalized it, so antibody, enzyme, ionophore, aptamers, all sorts of things. At which point then they will not want the ZP, let's say, branding. So branding can be brought to the app, a sensor can be brought to the app, which is the sensor that I'm just describing that you essentially design and manufacture. The new assay that's on that sensor can be brought to the app, and whatever calibration kind of routine, or if it requires calibration, many of ZP sensors don't. Now, if you scanned this code, you'll find out that actually then we've essentially left a place marker in our technology stack for apps that essentially we're very much at arm's length from them. So the idea of this then is that we have a technology stack. This is driven by smartphone apps. Those smartphone apps will make connection with this device, but then the smartphone app can be made to driven assays that are very much at arm's length from ZP. So you will be working with your client, or you are the client essentially, and then you'll be able to design essentially your own app that will then run on that hardware. So you can go from sort of having fabricated a few, 1,000 or 100 of these, to putting it onto a device like this very quickly, and going from, I would say, sort of idea to minimally viable prototype really quite quickly. Now, the way the platform actually works then is, so I think that the way you have to be creative is you create a new electrode which may be functionalized. You create a new QR code that will then, when the app is running, it'll scan the QR code, it will change the name, the branding, the colors, what the assay actually is. At which point then the sensor will go on to the hardware. The hardware will be driven by the app. You put the sensor in there, you put the sample on there, the sample get run, the data will go to the app, and the app will actually send it to the cloud. So your client actually then goes from not just the screen printed electrode, but to hardware driven by smartphone apps with a cloud capability as well. And actually they'll get results there on their phone. So you can very quickly see that actually this is not about, I need to get design engineers together and in order to just make a prototype. No, you can go very rapidly to actually a prototype. And it's cloud enabled, so every time an assay is run on it, all the data goes to the cloud, and your client can share it with the rest of their team quite simply to the cloud system. And it also has API and application program interface built into it as well. If you want to see this in action, we do at the end of every month do a webinar. This link will get updated with the next webinar in the series. The next one, as of today, is on the 23rd of April. So if I want to say thank you, but I want to summarize and say, so the intention is, if you follow the beginning of this video, there's just a few design rules that you follow, primarily on the footprint of the screen printed electrode and probably on the connectors. But then after that, then you can be creative with the layout of electrodes. As long as you have the electrodes in a certain order with a reference to working a counter, that will then, wherever you design, will plug into this piece of hardware, snap in, and at which point then that will then communicate with the already downloadable app on the Google Play Store or the Android store. And then actually it's quite simple to create a new custom QR code which will reskin the app, put the client's brand in there, run their assay, etc. So you first of all come to one of our webinars. There will be a link underneath this video, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Okay, thanks very much.